She thought I was just the maid, until I had her arrested at her own party. She looked me dead in the eye, her diamond earrings catching the light, and said with pure venom, "You're just the help. You don't belong here. You never will." What she didn't know was that I owned 60% of everything she thought was hers. The mansion she was standing in? Mine. The cars in the driveway? Mine. Even the chair she was sitting on, bought with my family's money. And what I did next, what I revealed in front of 200 of Beverly Hills' richest people, it didn't just embarrass her, it destroyed her entire life, her marriage, her reputation, her freedom, and her future. But before I tell you exactly how I got my revenge, and trust me, it was perfect, you need to hear the full story of how this woman made my life hell for 8 months, and how I planned every single detail of her downfall. This is my true story, every word of it, and I promise you, you're not going to believe how this ends. Because what happened that night wasn't just revenge, it was justice, and it was beautiful. My name is Sarah Henderson, though for 8 months, everyone in that mansion knew me as just Sarah the maid. But let me start from the beginning, because you need to understand exactly how I ended up scrubbing toilets in my own family's house. 2.5 years ago, my father, Robert Henderson, died suddenly of a heart attack. He was 58 years old, a self-made millionaire who built a real estate empire from nothing. 3 mansions, a portfolio of commercial properties worth $50 million, and a construction company that employed over 200 people. I was his only child. My mother died when I was 12, so it was just me and Dad against the world. He taught me everything about business, about real estate, about never letting people walk over you. He used to say, "Sarah, money doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you've always been." When he died, everyone expected me to inherit everything directly, but my father was smarter than that. He knew that sudden wealth destroys people, especially young people. So he set up something called a conditional trust. And the conditions, well, they're what allowed me to destroy Jessica Williams so completely. But I'm getting ahead of myself. See, my father had a business partner, Mark Williams. They'd been friends for 15 years. Mark never fully understood, and one that Jessica was about to violate in the most spectacular way possible. Because what my father built into that trust wasn't just generosity, it was a test. And Jessica Williams was about to fail that test so badly, it would cost her everything. I moved into the mansion as a live-in housekeeper 8 months after Jessica married Mark. Officially, I was there to help maintain the property. Unofficially, I was there to monitor the trust conditions. And what I discovered, it made my blood boil. Jessica Williams was everything my father would have hated: entitled, cruel, wasteful, and completely obsessed with status. She treated that mansion like her personal palace, throwing parties every weekend, redecorating with trust money like it was her inheritance. Let me paint you a picture of what this woman was like. She had a rule that I wasn't allowed to use the main staircase when she had guests. I had to use the service stairs, like some Victorian servant. She made me eat my meals in the laundry room, not the kitchen, because the help shouldn't be seen dining where the family eats. She threw away food that cost more than most people's weekly groceries. $500 bottles of wine poured down the drain because she didn't like the label. $200 per pound Wagyu beef thrown in the trash because it was too chewy. But the worst part? The absolute worst part was how she talked about my father. She called him that dead old man, and complained constantly about having to live in his outdated house. She had no idea she was talking about my father to his daughter. I documented everything, every insult, every waste of money, every violation of respect, because I knew that eventually I would have enough evidence to activate the nuclear option built into my father's trust. But what finally pushed me over the edge, what made me decide to destroy her completely, happened on a Tuesday morning that I'll never forget. It was October 15th, exactly 8 months after I started working there. Jessica was planning her annual charity gala, a massive event for 200 of Beverly Hills elite. The theme was giving back to those less fortunate. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd spent $50,000 of trust money on decorations alone, another $30,000 on catering, $15,000 on a live orchestra, all while treating me like dirt and calling it charity. I was polishing the chandelier in the main foyer when she walked in with 3 of her friends, all of them dripping in designer clothes and jewelry, gossiping about their latest shopping trips to Paris and Milan. Jessica pointed up at me and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "See that? That's Sarah, our maid. Isn't it wonderful how some people are just naturally suited for service? She's been cleaning for me for months, and she's finally learning her place." Her friends laughed. Actually laughed. One of them said, "Oh, Jessica, you're so good to give these people work. Most of them would be homeless without families like yours providing opportunities." These people, talking about me like I was some charity case, while standing in my family's house, spending my family's money. But then Jessica said something that crossed every line. She said, "You know, I think poor people are poor because they lack ambition. Look at Sarah. She's been here 8 months and never once asked for a promotion or tried to better herself. Some people are just meant to be servants." That's when I knew. I was done playing the role of the invisible maid, done being humiliated in my own home, done watching this woman disrespect my father's memory and waste my family's legacy. It was time for Jessica Williams to learn exactly who she'd been talking down to, and the way I planned to do it. It was going to be absolutely devastating. Let me tell you what Jessica Williams didn't know about me, what nobody in that house knew about me, except my lawyer. My full legal name is Sarah Elizabeth Henderson Trust. I am the sole beneficiary of the Henderson Family Trust, worth approximately $47 million. I hold controlling interest in Henderson Construction, Henderson Properties, and Henderson Investments. The mansion they were living in, I own it. The cars in the driveway, mine. The art collection Jessica loved to show off, every piece bought with my family's money. But here's the brilliant part about my father's planning. The trust was set up with very specific conditions. Mark Williams could live in the mansion as long as he treated it with respect, maintained family traditions, and honored my father's memory. If those conditions were violated, ownership would immediately revert to me. Jessica had been violating those conditions every single day for 8 months. The waste, the disrespect, the parties, the redecorating, all of it was documented. All of it was grounds for immediate eviction and forfeiture. But I didn't want just eviction. I wanted total destruction. Because during those 8 months of pretending to be their maid, I'd discovered something that would destroy not just Jessica's reputation, but her marriage, her social standing, and potentially her freedom. You see, Jessica thought she was so smart, so careful. But she made one crucial mistake. She trusted the wrong person, and that person had been feeding me information for months. Information about her affair, her financial crimes, and her plan to steal everything from both Mark and me. What I was about to expose at her own party, it was going to be nuclear. Let me tell you how I built the case that would destroy Jessica Williams. Because this wasn't just about revenge. This was about justice, and justice requires evidence. It started with the security cameras. Jessica didn't know that as the trust beneficiary, I had access to all the mansion's security footage. 8 months of recordings, 8 months of her behavior when she thought nobody was watching. The cameras caught her stealing, small things at first, expensive wine from the cellar, jewelry from the family collection, rare books from my father's library, things she thought wouldn't be missed. But theft is theft, regardless of the amount. Then there were the financial records. Every expense went through the trust, which meant I could see exactly where the money was going. The $5,000 charity donations that went to her personal shopping account, the $15,000 house maintenance charges that paid for her spa treatments, the $25,000 security upgrades that actually went to David Chen, a man Mark had never heard of. David Chen. Remember that name because he's the key to everything that happened next. Officially, he was a business consultant Jessica had hired to optimize household expenses. Unofficially, he was the man she was having an affair with, and together, They were planning something that would have destroyed both Mark and me. I hired a private investigator, the best in Los Angeles. What he uncovered about Jessica and David's relationship, it wasn't just an affair, it was a conspiracy, a plan to steal millions of dollars and disappear together. But they made one fatal mistake. They underestimated the stupid maid who was watching their every move. The affair had been going on for 6 months. 6 months of lies, secret meetings, and elaborate deceptions. While Mark worked 60-hour weeks trying to honor my father's memory and maintain the business, his wife was planning to destroy him. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Jessica told Mark she was going to the spa. Girls' Day, she called it. Self-care and wellness treatments. What she was actually doing was meeting David Chen at the Ritz-Carlton downtown, room 1247. Always the same room, always charged to a credit card linked to the trust account. My private investigator got photos, timestamps, hotel records, video footage of them entering and leaving together. But it got worse, so much worse. They weren't just having sex, they were planning to contest my father's will, claim the entire estate belonged to Mark by marriage, and then divorce him and take half of everything. David had already filed preliminary paperwork with a corrupt lawyer, claiming that the trust conditions were illegal and unenforceable. The plan was simple. Jessica would provoke a situation where I would attack her or threaten her, giving them grounds to have me removed from the property and banned from contesting the trust. Then they would claim Mark was the rightful heir to everything, divorce him, and split the fortune. They had been working on this for months. Months of stealing from my family, dishonoring my father's memory, and planning to steal my entire inheritance. All while treating me like dirt and making me clean their toilets. But here's what they didn't know. My father was smarter than both of them combined. The trust had provisions they never even considered. Provisions that meant their entire plan was not just going to fail, it was going to destroy them both. And I was about to activate those provisions in the most public, humiliating way possible. The affair was bad enough, but what I discovered about their financial crimes, that's what really made me want to destroy them completely. David Chen wasn't just Jessica's affair partner. He was a professional con artist, with a history of targeting wealthy widows and divorced women. His real name was David Rodriguez, Jessica's own cousin. They had been planning this scam since before she even married Mark. Let that sink in. Jessica married Mark Williams specifically to get access to my father's money. This wasn't a romance that turned into greed. This was a premeditated conspiracy from day one. The business consulting David was doing, he was systematically moving trust money into offshore accounts. Small amounts at first, $5,000 here, $10,000 there. But over 8 months, they had stolen over $800,000 from my family's trust. Here's how the scam worked. Jessica would submit false invoices for household expenses, catering for parties that never happened, renovation work that was never done, security consultations that were actually cash transfers to David's accounts. They thought they were being clever, keeping individual transactions under $50,000 to avoid triggering bank reporting requirements. What they didn't know was that the trust had automatic fraud detection software that flagged patterns, not just amounts. By the time I was ready to expose them, I had evidence of 47 separate instances of fraud, totaling $847,000. I had hotel receipts, bank records, phone recordings, security footage, and sworn statements from witnesses. But the most damaging evidence, the evidence that would send them both to prison, that came from David himself, because this idiot was so confident in his plan that he recorded everything. Every conversation, every planning session, every detail of how they were going to steal my inheritance and disappear. And guess who he shared those recordings with? The night of Jessica's charity gala was going to be perfect. Not for her, for me. Because I had planned every detail of her destruction with the same precision my father used to plan his business deals. 200 guests were coming, the mayor of Beverly Hills, 3 city councilmen, a dozen millionaires, the entire social elite that Jessica desperately wanted to impress. She had no idea they were about to witness the most spectacular public humiliation in Beverly Hills history. The theme was giving back to those less fortunate. The irony was so perfect I almost couldn't believe it. Here was a woman who had stolen nearly $1 million from a dead man's trust, planning to celebrate charity and generosity. I had everything ready: hidden cameras in the main ballroom, audio recording equipment, a projector connected to my laptop, and 3 very special guests that Jessica wasn't expecting. Guest number 1, Detective Maria Rodriguez from the Beverly Hills Police Department's Fraud Division. She was there socially, just a friend of the family enjoying a charity event. Jessica had no idea she was about to be arrested. Guest number 2, James Patterson, the federal prosecutor who specialized in trust fraud and conspiracy cases. He was also there socially, just another wealthy donor supporting a good cause. Guest number 3, David Chen himself, because I had convinced him that this party was the perfect opportunity to finalize their plan. He thought he was coming to celebrate their success. He had no idea he was walking into a trap. The beautiful part about my plan wasn't just that I was going to expose them, it was that I was going to let them expose themselves, because nothing destroys a criminal faster than their own arrogance, and Jessica Williams was about to be more arrogant than she'd ever been in her life. October 20th, 7 p.m. The mansion was filled with 200 of Beverly Hills' most influential people. Jessica was in her element, wearing a $15,000 Versace dress paid for with stolen trust money, playing the perfect hostess. I was working the party as planned, serving drinks and cleaning up, invisible just like always. But tonight, being invisible was exactly where I wanted to be. Jessica made her grand entrance at 8 p.m., descending the main staircase like she was royalty. The irony wasn't lost on me. She was walking downstairs in a house she'd never own, wearing a dress bought with money she'd stolen, to impress people who would hate her in exactly 1 hour. She gave her opening speech about the importance of helping those less fortunate and giving back to the community. Every word made me angrier, but I stayed calm. I had waited 8 months for this moment. I could wait 1 more hour. At 9:15 p.m., Jessica decided to make an example of me. She was standing with a group of the wealthiest women in Beverly Hills when she called me over. "Ladies, I want you to meet Sarah, our wonderful maid. She's been so helpful these past months, cleaning our toilets, washing our dishes, doing all the work that people like us shouldn't have to do ourselves." The women laughed politely, but I could see the discomfort in their eyes. This was cruel, even by Beverly Hills standards. Jessica continued, "You know, I've learned so much about charity from having Sarah work for us. It's reminded me how blessed we are and how important it is to provide opportunities for people who wouldn't have them otherwise." Then she said the words that sealed her fate. "Some people are just born to serve, aren't they, Sarah? And there's nothing wrong with that. The world needs people willing to clean up after their betters." That's when I knew it was time. Time to stop being the invisible maid. Time to reclaim my family's honor. Time to destroy Jessica Williams so completely that she would never recover. I walked to the front of the room, and what I did next, what I revealed in front of all those people, it didn't just shock them. It destroyed every assumption they'd ever made about wealth, power, and who really belongs where. I walked calmly to the front of the ballroom, took the microphone from Jessica's hands, and looked out at 200 of the most powerful people in Beverly Hills. "Thank you, Jessica, for that interesting introduction. But there's something everyone here should know before we continue celebrating tonight. My name isn't just Sarah the maid. My full name is Sarah Elizabeth Henderson Trust. I am the daughter of Robert Henderson, the man who built this mansion. I am the sole beneficiary of the Henderson Family Trust, and you are all standing in my house." The silence was deafening. You could hear champagne glasses clinking as people's hands started shaking. Jessica's face went from confusion to horror as she began to understand what was happening. "You see, when my father died, he created a conditional trust that allowed his business partner Mark Williams to live in this house, as long as certain conditions were met. Conditions regarding respect, financial responsibility, and honoring the Henderson family legacy. Over the past 8 months, while working as your maid, I have documented 47 separate violations of those conditions: theft of family property, misuse of trust funds, disrespect of family traditions, and," I paused for effect, conspiracy to defraud the trust of its entire assets. Mark Williams stepped forward, his face pale. Sarah, what are you talking about? What conspiracy? Mark, your wife Jessica has been having an affair for 6 months with a man named David Chen. But David Chen isn't just her lover. He's her cousin, David Rodriguez. And together they have stolen $847,000 from my father's trust while planning to steal everything else. The gasps were audible now. Phones were coming out. This was about to become the scandal of the decade. But that was just the beginning, because what I revealed next about their elaborate scam, that's what really destroyed them. And the evidence I was about to show, it was going to send them both to prison. I connected my laptop to the massive screen that Jessica had installed for her charity presentation. Instead of photos of homeless shelters and food banks, 200 wealthy socialites were about to see something very different. Jessica, you told Mark you've been going to the spa twice a week for self-care, correct? She tried to speak, but no words came out. Let me show everyone what your spa treatments actually looked like. The screen lit up with security footage from the Ritz-Carlton, date stamps, time stamps, crystal clear images of Jessica and David entering a hotel room together, again and again and again. Tuesday, September 3rd, 2:15 p.m. Thursday, September 5th, 1:45 p.m. Tuesday, September 10th, 2:30 p.m. I read the dates like a prosecutor presenting evidence. Should I continue? I have footage from 23 separate occasions. Mark's face. I'll never forget the pain in his eyes. Complete betrayal. 8 months of lies unraveling in real time. But the affair isn't even the worst part, Mark. David Chen's real name is David Rodriguez. He's Jessica's first cousin. This entire relationship was planned from the beginning. I clicked to the next slide. David's criminal record. 3 previous convictions for fraud, specifically targeting wealthy widows and recent divorcees. Jessica didn't meet you by chance at that charity event, Mark. You were selected, targeted, hunted. Here are text messages between Jessica and David from before your wedding, discussing the Henderson opportunity and how to maximize the extraction timeline. The room was in complete chaos now. Whispers, gasps, people filming everything. Jessica tried to run toward the exit, but I wasn't finished destroying her yet. Oh, Jessica, don't leave yet, because we haven't even gotten to the best part. The part where you and David recorded yourselves planning to steal my entire inheritance. Yes, that's right. You recorded everything. And guess who has those recordings now? I clicked to the next presentation slide, a spreadsheet showing 8 months of financial fraud, color-coded and itemized. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're looking at is a comprehensive breakdown of how Jessica Rodriguez, yes, Rodriguez, not Williams, and her cousin David systematically stole $847,000 from my family's trust. Red entries are fake catering charges for parties that never happened. Blue entries are fabricated renovation expenses for work that was never done. Green entries are fraudulent consulting fees paid to David's shell companies. I could see Detective Rodriguez quietly speaking into her phone, calling for backup. Prosecutor Patterson was taking notes, building his case in real time. But my personal favorite, I continued, are the yellow entries. These are charity donations that Jessica claimed were tax-deductible gifts to various organizations, except the money actually went to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Now, let me play some audio recordings that David Chen made of their planning sessions. He thought he was being smart, documenting everything for legal protection. Instead, he created a perfect confession. I hit play. David's voice filled the ballroom. Once we get the trust overturned, we split everything 50-50. The mansion alone is worth $3.2 million. The entire portfolio is worth almost $50 million. We just need to get rid of the daughter first. Jessica's voice. The maid routine is perfect. She actually thinks we don't know who she is. We let her play house servant while we steal everything from under her nose. The recording continued. David's voice. If legal challenges don't work, we might need to consider more permanent solutions. Accidents happen, especially to young women living alone in big houses. The room went dead silent. This wasn't just fraud anymore. This was conspiracy to commit murder. But the most damaging recording, the one that would guarantee they both spent decades in prison, that was still coming, because what they said next crossed every legal line imaginable. The final recording was the nuclear option. David and Jessica planning not just to steal from me, but to destroy every piece of evidence of my father's legacy. David's voice. We burn the house down. Insurance fraud plus destroying all the family records. Then we claim Robert Henderson was mentally incompetent when he created the trust. No documents, no witnesses, no problem. Jessica's voice. What about the girl? What about her? House fires are dangerous. People die in house fires all the time. The collective gasp from 200 people was like a physical force. Several women started crying. Men were standing up, backing away from Jessica like she was diseased. Mark Williams looked like he was going to be sick. Jessica, were you planning to kill Sarah and burn down Robert's house? Jessica finally found her voice, screaming, It's not fair. She doesn't deserve all this money. She's just a girl. We worked for this. We planned for this. She was supposed to be grateful for the job. Perfect. A complete confession in front of 200 witnesses, including a detective and a federal prosecutor. Detective Rodriguez stepped forward, badge visible. Jessica Rodriguez and David Chen, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, grand theft, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit murder. David tried to run. He made it exactly 12 feet before 3 off-duty security guards tackled him, the same guards that Jessica had insisted on hiring for protection, with trust money, of course. But the legal consequences weren't even the best part. The best part was watching Jessica's entire social world collapse in real time. Mrs. Pemberton, the queen of Beverly Hills society, stood up and announced, "The Pemberton family will be disassociating from anyone who continues contact with this creature." One by one, every influential person in that room did the same. Jessica went from being the hostess of the party to being completely socially destroyed in less than an hour. But the final humiliation, the one that would follow her for the rest. First humiliation, the one that would follow her for the rest of her life. That came when Mark Williams did something nobody expected. As the police led Jessica and David away in handcuffs, Mark Williams did something that shocked everyone in that ballroom. He got down on his knees in front of me and publicly apologized. "Sarah, I am so sorry. I had no idea what she was doing, no idea who she really was. Your father was like a brother to me, and I failed to protect his legacy and his daughter. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm begging for it anyway." The room was silent, waiting to see what I would do. This man had been betrayed as completely as I had. His wife had planned to murder both of us for money. "Mark," I said, helping him to his feet, "my father loved you like a brother. What Jessica did isn't your fault. You have a place in this family for as long as you want it." The applause was thunderous. 200 people witnessing forgiveness and family loyalty in the midst of betrayal and greed. Within 48 hours, I had recovered every stolen penny. The offshore accounts were frozen. The fake companies were dissolved. The fraudulent charges were reversed, plus interest, plus damages, plus legal fees. Jessica and David's total theft, $847,000. My total recovery, $1.2 million. Jessica Rodriguez pleaded guilty to 23 counts of fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. She was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole. David Rodriguez pleaded guilty to 31 counts, including racketeering, as this was his 4th major fraud conviction. He received 18 years in federal prison. Both of them are currently serving their sentences in different facilities. They'll never see each other again. Jessica's social destruction was complete. Every charity removed her from their boards. Every club revoked her membership. Every friend cut contact. She went from Beverly Hills royalty to social pariah overnight. The story made national news. Maid millionaire exposes society scammer. It became a cautionary tale about judging people by appearances. Mark Williams became my business partner and surrogate father figure. We rebuilt the company stronger than ever. He moved into the guest house and helps manage the properties. I kept one item from Jessica's belongings, the $15,000 Versace dress she wore to her own destruction. I had it framed with a plaque that reads, "The most expensive costume in criminal history." And the mansion? I converted Jessica's former bedroom into my father's memorial office. Every day I sit in that room, running the business he built, knowing that his legacy is secure. The lesson here isn't just about justice or revenge, it's about the fact that you never know who you're really dealing with. That quiet person serving your coffee could own the building. That janitor could be a millionaire. That maid you're humiliating could own everything you think is yours. Jessica Rodriguez learned that lesson the hard way. She treated me like dirt because she thought I was powerless. She forgot that real power isn't about what people can see. It's about what they can't see coming. If you enjoyed this story of justice and karma, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more true stories that will blow your mind. And in the comments, tell me, what would you have done if you were in my position? Trust me, the story I'm telling next week makes this one look like a fairy tale. You won't believe what some people will do for money, and you definitely won't believe how they got caught. Hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss it. Justice is beautiful, but revenge is an art form.